Today we're talking about nutrition and immunity. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper. I'll share a little bit about myself. I am a registered dietitian nutritionist, and I am currently studying to become an integrative and functional nutrition practitioner. So wish me luck. In the next month or so, I will be taking my exam to become certified. And essentially what that means is I'm going to be able to help people dig a little bit deeper in terms of getting to the root cause of any types of symptoms or health-related issues that you may have. And it's more of that root cause approach to addressing health concerns through nutrition specifically and advanced biomarker testing. I'll help to give you ammo to go and speak with your doctor about getting some more advanced testing to dig a little bit deeper. So stay tuned. I have one of my favorite topics to actually talk about is cholesterol and heart disease. We all know somebody who's got heart disease, and you know, it's the #1 killer in the United States, unfortunately. And I will be having some classes coming up in the future in relation to that. So would love to have you all stay in touch so you can find out about some of my future classes. But jumping into the topic today is going to be about nutrition and immunity. So I am going to, hold on a second. There we go. There's my next page. Can everybody still see me? I think you can probably still see me. But essentially what we're going to be going over today is we're going to learn the importance of building resilience with the food first approach to reduce your risk of impaired immune health. And we're going to talk about different nutrients that are present in whole foods that support your immune system. And we're going to talk about just some basic but healthy changes that you can do in your diet and lifestyle. And essentially it's based on a foundation of a healthy diet and lifestyle. It's basic information, but I think there's going to be pearls that you're going to take out of today where you'll be able to implement that, even if it's something small. And every little bit that you do, especially right now with the pandemic that we're going through. And I want to make clarification in terms of what I'm sharing today. I have to tell you that basically everything that I'm sharing is not necessarily in relation to preventing COVID, but all of the things that you can do that we're going to talk about help to build that resilience to help decrease your chances of a lessened immune system. So I have to be careful because they're still in the process of doing a lot of research. You're going to read a lot of things on Google. But every single thing that you do right now is going to help to gear yourself to building up a strong immune system. So, I really hope that everybody is taking this time seriously to implement healthy change in your life. So I'm going to go ahead just for the purpose of paying attention, and I'm going to go ahead and stop my video so I don't have to stare at myself. But so resilience, if you start researching immune health, you're going to see and read about resilience. And essentially what that means is it allows your body to remain in a state of health or recover more quickly after an exposure to a virus or detrimental bacteria or toxin. And with regular intentional practices that support good health, that will help to get that strong foundation to build your body's resilience against foreign invaders. And our mental health and immune health are dependent on a strong, resilient microbiome. And I don't know if any of you have heard this saying, but your gut is your second brain. And really, it's true. Because if you don't have a good functioning gut, then your brain isn't going to function, right? So really, it's almost like the chicken and the egg. Which one came first? So the cornerstone of your immune system is your gut. The idea of boosting your immune system is very alluring, right? But the ability to do so has proven to be difficult for many reasons. You know, your immune system truly is a system. It's not a single entity, and there's no single solution. There's no, you know, one shot easy button to it. But to function well, your immune system requires that balance and harmony, and it all starts within your gut. 70% of your immune system cells are connected to your digestive tract, and healing your gut is the first step protecting yourself against viruses and harmful bacteria. Your intestines are home to 10 times more microorganisms in the body than the human cells than in your body. And when balanced, your microflora or your gut helps to fight off that bacteria. There's trillions of microbes in your intestines, and they form this complex ecological system that influences both your physiological and your susceptibility to disease. And so, you know, it's important. I think most of us probably understand that eating a whole food diet that's full of phytonutrients, that's primarily plant-based, meaning that your diet is mostly fruits and vegetables, and it's loaded with good quality fiber, lean protein with a balance of healthy fat, specifically those omega-3 fatty acids, with good hydration is essentially the way we all should be eating. It's also important in terms of your lifestyle, getting physical activity, good quality sleep, which is often overlooked, and then decreasing your level of stress. All of those things play a huge role in your immune system. I like to just put this in here because I think it's important just to do a quick briefer of your immune system and defense and how that works, right? The frontline defense in your body is your skin and your mucus. These are, each of these mechanisms listed here are designed to trap foreign materials and wash or move them off of the body via coughing or sneezing. And, you know, they contain antimicrobials, acids, and enzymes that inhibit the growth of or destroy microorganisms. So these natural biochemical things in your body, you know, the gastric acids in your digestive systems, help to inhibit the growth of those bacteria. And then if you start reading about immune system, you know, there's a thing called innate immune response, and that is the first response to your invading pathogen or an injury. So an example is you catch a cold and your body's innate immune response causes you to develop a runny nose, a cough, or itchy eyes. And then the adaptive immune response is the ability to specifically recognize the pathogen and remember if an exposure were to occur again. So an example of that would be chickenpox, for example. That is an innate immune response followed by that quote unquote remembered immunity. And, you know, we obviously now have a vaccine for that. So this is just a little picture of how that works and how your body builds up those antibodies to remember that virus. And then there's something called gut-associated lymphoid tissue. And the majority of the immune cells within the body are located within what we call gut tissue, located in the intermucosal layer, and it communicates regularly with the nearby gut microbiome located in the GI tract. And while gut and your microbiome result in different areas of the GI tract, there may be cases where those gut immune cells come into direct contact with your microbiota or nutrients. And I like to talk about leaky gut. So there's a thing called leaky gut, and that would be an example of that. The gut microbiome really truly does play an important role in the maintenance of that gut tissue. So the food that we ingest and the environmental factors that have the ability to change the composition of your gut and the bacteria that reside there over time, whether favorably, it could be favorably or unfavorably. The key components that play the favorable role in your microbiome include probiotics and prebiotics. So I'm sure a lot of you have been reading about probiotics and know that those are important. And I'm going to cover in this class, you know, why that is important and how that plays a role. But briefly, just to kind of sum up what we're going to go over in terms of the nutrient density of your diet, these are the several nutrients that play a vital role in your immune system. Obviously, everything works synergistically together, but as you can see, there's quite a few of them. So it's not just one, right? It's not just, you know, vitamin C or zinc. It's all of them working together in a harmony balance. And, you know, single micronutrients can exert multiple diverse effects on the body, but excessive intake of some of these intakes can also be associated with impaired immune response. So before you go and start supplementing with excessive doses of any of these things because you've read something online, you know, you really should check with your healthcare provider before you do that. So I have this picture here. Again, it just kind of shows what I just explained in terms of how the immune system can become increasingly active even when your body is exposed to a pathogen. It loses certain vitamins and minerals when a pathogen enters into your body. So I put this up here. I'm going to have Sarah send this off to everybody. There's a list. I love this list. It's one of my favorite handouts. We all know we need to be eating more fruits and vegetables, right? That's not new information. But I encourage you to look at your diet and see what colors you're missing from your day. Every day you should be consuming a wide variety of colors. You know, you hear eat the rainbow, and I don't mean eat the rainbow of Skittles. I mean eat the rainbow of fruits and vegetables. So take a look at this list and, you know, find something on here where you say, you know what, I don't really eat a lot of orange foods. Maybe I'm not eating a lot of purple foods. So take a look at the list and figure out which ones you're interested in incorporating into your diet or into your family's diet, and buy them and work ways in which you can add them into your diet. And the nice thing too on this, there's a whole backside to it that has lots of information. So you're all going to get this handout, and I encourage you to maybe hang it on your refrigerator or bring it with you when you're doing your grocery shopping list and try something new. These are our pictures here of things that I standardly eat. These are my photos that I took in my kitchen. You can see that they're very colorful. They look like the rainbow. On the left, there's a picture of a breakfast with some eggs and some sweet potato and some salsa and some Swiss chard with a little dollop of some hummus. And I believe I probably put some red pepper flakes in there as well. And you can see the salad. We've got some cruciferous veggies with, you know, the cabbage and some chickpeas and some pumpkin seeds on there as well for protein and some fiber. And sheet pans of roasted vegetables, whether it's summertime, whether it's wintertime, no matter what time of the year. It's a great practice just to get some vegetables, get some parchment paper, and make sheet pans of roasted veggies. You know, you don't have to get bored with eating a raw salad, you know, every day, a couple times a day. Spice it up, change it up, and, you know, make yourself some roasted veggies that you've got all chopped up, ready to go, that you can throw into, you know, power bowls of just veggie loaded bowls, top with some whole grains, a lean protein source of some sort, and then any of the extras you can take and you can throw into what I call a kitchen sink frittata or egg bake. You know, super simple, super easy. Using the parchment paper makes for easy cleanup, but get into the habit of incorporating maybe some vegetables at breakfast, because most people aren't eating vegetables at breakfast, making sure that you're consuming some kind of salad bowl every day, and having a practice of making some sheet pans of roasted veggies every week that you have ready to go in the refrigerator will make it easy for adding in vegetables into your diet. Love this picture here. This is a cauliflower pizza crust that's made beautiful, that looks just like a rainbow, fun for adults, fun for kids. You know, get a little creative and have some fun making something like this. I mean, look at that. Look how beautiful that is. You got to take a picture of it and then share it with your friends. They're going to be so impressed with you if you make that. All right, so I have a challenge for you. Not a lot of people opt for eating watercress or bok choy, and they're two of the most nutrient-dense greens on the planet. So watercress, 2 cups of it has, very minimal protein, very low in calories, and contains a ton of vitamin K, vitamin C, and also even calcium. And then bok choy has got a little omega-3 fatty acids and zinc, and it contains 70 different antioxidant substances. So very low in calories, loaded with potassium, loaded with vitamin A, and loaded with vitamin C. So if you don't currently eat bok choy or watercress, I highly recommend it. Great way to have watercress is to make a pesto with it. I like to make pesto. Instead of using pine nuts, I will use hemp seeds. And then for the bok choy, I like to steam it and saute some mushrooms and with like a fermented chili sauce that you can add the steamed bok choy in just real quick, and then pair that with a sprouted grain rice and some kimchi with some salmon on top. That is a go-to delicious meal that is extremely nutrient dense. So I'm going to remind you at the end what your challenge is, so everybody remember. Going to get some watercress and some bok choy this week. All right. So when we talk about the gut, before I jump into talking about probiotics, you need prebiotics. In order for probiotics to thrive, and you need prebiotics. Prebiotics are fiber-rich foods that are the food for probiotics to thrive and to grow. They eat the probiotics eat the prebiotic foods, and that's what keeps them thriving. They also produce butyric acid, which is a short-chain fatty acid, and it fuels the digestive cells and protects the digestive tract from harmful bacteria. So butyric acid is extremely important, and unfortunately, a lot of us just aren't producing enough of it, and over time, can have a detrimental effect on your health. So the foods listed here as the prebiotic sources that you see on the screen really truly are some of the best prebiotic foods to include on a daily basis, on a very regular basis. So without those, your probiotics that you're eating from, let's take a look here at this screen, from, sauerkraut, kimchi, yogurt, which is which is a fermented dairy, and unpasteurized pickled vegetables and kefir are all really great sources of probiotics. And those are the good bacteria that reside in the digestive tract that we really have to truly replenish through food. And I just would like to say that unfortunately, in today's world, we live in such a sanitized world, especially now with the pandemic happening. Everything is sanitized. Not that I want you to go out and start, not washing your hands, but we're not outside digging in dirt. We're not eating, vegetables straight from the garden. I mean, some of us are. Hopefully, most of you on here today are. But standard Americans are not consuming quality probiotic sources from the things you see here on this list. And then and everything is sanitized. Maybe you've been on antibiotics several times throughout your life and you've killed off all of your good bacteria. Over time, that wears down and it's really hard to replenish it back. And just taking a probiotic supplement isn't generally the best way to do it. Really, it's food first, because when you're eating the food from kimchi, sauerkraut, fermented dairy, you're getting nutrients, you're getting phytochemicals, you're getting all those antioxidants, you're getting the fiber, you're getting calcium, you're getting all sorts of other nutrients from the food versus just popping a supplement. So one way I like to enjoy kimchi is to make a sprouted grain rice. You could do, you know, like a version of a fried rice or just a nice rice pilaf seasoned. And when it's done and it's cooked and it's hot, take some kimchi and throw the kimchi into the rice. Pair it with maybe that bok choy that you've just cooked and steamed, and then top it with some salmon, and you have yourself a very nutritious, probiotic, omega-3 rich, good quality complex carb with lots of fiber, a very good balanced diet with lean protein, or a good balanced meal. This is one of my favorite things to eat every week, and I like to, I say it in this way for people to understand, but kimchi is kind of a different thing for most people to enjoy eating. And I like to say it's the gateway drug to enjoy having kimchi is by throwing it into some cooked rice. So if you have never had it or you're wary of it, try it that way and see how it goes. Lundberg rice has a lot of really great grab and go pre-seasoned with a seasoning packet that are fairly lower in sodium as compared to many of the other brands. So if you don't want to think about how to season it yourself, Lundberg rice has a great organic line of products that you could buy and make the box of it and add that to it. Perfectly healthy and certainly convenient and easy and delicious. So here's a whole nother list of other fermented foods. Brands that I like to recommend, very good high quality brands. The Mother-in-Law kimchi, the Wild Brine has a probiotic spicy kimchi sriracha sauce, which goes great on the avocado toast. So like a sprouted grain bread with some mashed avocado and some hemp seeds, and then a little drizzle of that kimchi sauce on top is a delicious. And then, you know, obviously there's several brands of sauerkraut, but when you're choosing a sauerkraut, you want to make sure that you're choosing a sauerkraut that's refrigerated. It's shelf stable, it's been heated, it's been pasteurized, and it no longer contains those good for you bacteria anymore. Natto, miso, tempeh, all good sources, kefir. The thing about kombucha, so kombucha is a fermented tea, so it has those probiotics. When you make a kombucha, you need to add sugar to it. So some kombuchas can be very high in sugar, and it's essentially a soda substitution. So you want to be careful with the amount of kombucha that you're drinking, and you want to choose a brand that's lower in sugar. I'm personally a fan of the Aqua Vitae brand, one, because they use fruit as the sugar source to ferment the kombucha. So if it's the elderberry flavor or if it's the peach flavor or the blueberry flavor, they're using peaches, they're using blueberries as the sugar to ferment it. They're not adding cane sugar, and they're much lower in sugar than many of the other ones. And to be honest, I think they're actually more flavorful in terms of the unique flavors they have available. So fermented foods, period, end of story. I like to say we all need more in our diets, and if you're not open to consuming more, then we really need to focus on those prebiotics, and you probably likely need to supplement with a probiotic depending on your situation if you're not eating, you know, a lot of these foods on a regular basis. Okay, moving along to vitamin D. Vitamin D is critical for immune health, and most people in New England, unfortunately, are deficient. We live in New England where we're not out in the sun getting it from the sunlight. You know, vitamin D is actually not really a vitamin, it's a hormone. And we get vitamin D primarily from the sun, known as the sunshine vitamin, right? So it's a fat soluble vitamin. So you can store up your vitamin D stores throughout the summertime by getting some good sun without getting burnt, of course, and store it in your fat cells to get you through the winter months. Unfortunately, most people are deficient. I am a dietitian who primarily really advocates and promotes the food first approach. But if there's one vitamin that you should be taking, it's vitamin D. If you have not had your levels checked, highly recommend it. It is absolutely connected to a compromised immune system and response if you are deficient. And it's also correlated with I hate to say this, but almost everything else under the sun, no pun intended. You know, from cancer to diabetes to hormonal issues, you name it. It really is kind of a pandemic. And what you're going to start to see on a lot of nutrition facts labels now is that vitamin D is a nutrient of concern, and it's now regulated and has to be listed on food labels. The problem is vitamin D isn't necessarily really found in food, except for some of the things listed on the board. And when I say mushrooms, it's not found in your standard mushrooms at a standard grocery store. We're talking very specific mushrooms, like shiitake mushrooms have a small amount, but just your standard white and portobello button or your button mushrooms they don't have vitamin D in them. So you can find fortified foods that have vitamin D, and the wild caught salmon fish has a little, some fatty fish has a little, pasture eggs have a little, beef liver, cod liver oil are pretty significant sources of vitamin D, but not a lot of people are eating those things on a regular basis. So the key missing piece to the puzzle with vitamin D supplements is that it's missing vitamin K2. K2 is kind of the new kid on the block, so to speak. And it's really important to help with the balance of vitamin D and how the body utilizes it. A brand that I like to recommend that I know is a very good quality brand is the Nutritional Roots. There's a picture of it there on the slide. We do sell it at the ShopRite of Canton. It's hard to find that specific brand elsewhere. And there's certainly other brands that have D3 and K2 in them, but take a look at your supplements. Most supplements aren't going to contain that, and I think they should. K2 is very difficult to also get in the diet. And we're not eating a lot of foods that have K2 in it. And I will just make a notation. I've been reading a lot about COVID, and there was an article in there about the different vitamin K. So there's vitamin K, which is different than vitamin K2. Vitamin K's primary function in the body is blood clotting. And if you've been reading about COVID and the pandemic and whatever magazines you may be opening up, you're going to start to see a lot of other research coming out that supports the benefit of making sure you have an adequate diet. And vitamin K2 has to do with blood clotting and lung health. So very important. I won't talk about that anymore. I'm going to move along. But get your vitamin D levels checked and supplement. It takes a little while to get your vitamin D levels stored up. So make sure you're getting outside and getting a little bit of sun without getting burnt. 15 minutes a day on your arms and your face and your neck should be enough for most people to get what you need for your vitamin D for the day. So vitamin C, we all know vitamin C in terms of its powerful antioxidant capabilities, in terms of being great for your immune. So the thing about vitamin C is, I think most people think oranges, but bell peppers are great. Cauliflower is great. Berries are in season right now. Broccoli, Brussels sprouts, leafy vegetables, green leafy vegetables are all wonderful sources of vitamin C. So another reason to make sure that you're looking at your diet and you're getting all of those colors. And an interesting fact here at the bottom, clinical trials have found that adequate daily levels of vitamin C through food shortens the frequency, duration, and severity of the common cold and incidence of pneumonia. So it's not about, oh, I'm sick, now I need to take excessive doses of vitamin C to get better. It's the preventative piece. It's a water-soluble vitamin. You need to make sure that you're getting adequate levels every single day because it's water-soluble. If you've ever taken a lot of vitamin C, it's very expensive urine, right? You look at your urine, it's bright yellow, and you're peeing it out. So really, you need to make sure that you're getting it from food sources in adequate levels every single day. Same with zinc. Zinc is a powerful antioxidant, and it's required to activate certain immune cells. It's found in seafood and grass-fed beef. A lot of people who are going plant-based are now not eating a lot of meat, which is a significant source of zinc. So you really need to make sure that you're getting in your diet, you know, raw pumpkin seeds. If I had to create a list of 5 things I think everybody should eat because they're so nutritionally dense, pumpkin seeds are on that list. Pumpkin seeds are a great snack, a great source of fiber and plant-based protein. You don't have to cook them. You literally just open a bag or a jar and they're available to eat. So get some pumpkin seeds in your diet, you know, and then you can see the other things listed here on the screen that are great sources of zinc. Quercetin. Quercetin is a polyphenol, and it's shown to reduce inflammation and the severity of upper respiratory tract infections, and has those immune supporting effects. So quercetin is in its highest concentration found actually in capers. Capers are one of my favorite things to incorporate into fun condiments. I have a couple of recipes that I'm going to be giving you, which I think, no, it's not on my next screen. I'm sorry. I have a recipe that I'll be giving you with capers, but you know, capers are fantastic. If you don't currently eat them, buy a jar and do a little Google search and find something that strikes your fancy. I like to take capers with hemp seeds, garlic, lemon juice, lots of herbs like parsley and cilantro, and chop it all up and mix it together with some garlic infused olive oil and use that as a salsa verde on top of some roasted cauliflower, or even on top of some chopped cucumbers. Is really light and refreshing and delicious. You can put it over some salmon, but you can find me making that specific recipe on a regular basis, and that's the recipe I'm going to give you later. You're going to get it in an email. So you can see the other sources listed there of quercetin. So again, another reason to eat all of those amazing foods. And then black tea and green tea, both super nutritious in the fact that they contain antioxidants and compounds that are beneficial for your all-around health. Specifically green tea, if anybody's heard of matcha, it's that powder, that green powder that you see there on the screen. So matcha is green tea leaves that have been delicately dried and turned into powder form. And when you consume matcha, you're actually taking the powder and mixing it with the water or whatever it is you're making, and you're consuming the whole leaf. Whereas a regular green tea leaf or regular tea, you're steeping, and so you're not consuming the leaf. So green tea is much higher in L-theanine, which promotes the feeling of relaxation and it reduces stress. And it has, matcha specifically has 70 times the amount of L-theanine than like spinach, for example. It has 10 times the amount of antioxidants than regular green tea. So matcha is something that I think a lot of people could benefit from, keeping in mind it does have a small amount of caffeine, not as much as a cup of coffee, but it's a great thing to put into a smoothie. I like to actually make almond gluten-free protein pancakes with matcha in them. So you can bake with it and you can cook with it, but you know, most people consume it in smoothies or in a tea form. Omega-3 fatty acids, super hot topic, isn't going anywhere. We all need to consume more omega-3 fatty acids, period, end of story. If you're not a fish eater, it's going to be more difficult for you to get those omega-3s, but cold water fatty fish like salmon, wild-caught salmon specifically, mackerel, trout, halibut, all good sources, anchovies, sardines, really good sources of omega-3 fatty acids. And the plant-based sources, you're gonna get your bang for your buck from chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, and walnuts. There's really not a whole lot of other really high nuts or seeds that contain those, the alpha-linoleic omega-3 fatty acids. So focus on getting those because that's where you're going to get your bang for your buck. And the goal is to reduce processed foods, reduce refined oils in the diet, which reduces omega-6 fatty acids. And we want to up our omega-3 fatty acids to balance out that inflammation in the body, which is the key driver to almost all negative health effects, is inflammation in the body. So up your omega-3 fatty acids, and you're going to be in better shape in terms of your overall health. On the screen here is a list of omega-3 fatty acid rich fish options from the highest to the lowest. So take a look at that, and something that maybe you don't normally eat, maybe you normally eat haddock or cod on a regular basis, maybe substitute that with some mackerel or salmon or some trout or some swordfish or anchovies. Choose the more, get the bang for your buck, cold water fatty fish. Ginger root. Ginger root is antimicrobial. It has antiviral properties. It really, truly is an amazing root that should be included on a regular basis. On the list, on the board here, you see different ideas of what you can do with it. You can steep it in almond milk, add spices, which maybe isn't necessarily so much a summertime drink, more of a winter cold weather beverage. You can grate it into stir fries, simmer slices in water and make a tea. You can add it to smoothies. You can add it to just plain old water. You can grate it into baked goods. You can make homemade dressings with it. I'm going to give you a couple of recipes for what you can do with the ginger in a little bit. And if you don't want to buy it and you don't want to grate it and you're not into that, you feel like it's too much work for you, well, thankfully, there is a thing called crushed ginger, the Dort brand there. We sell in the frozen food department. They come in like a little ice cube tray, and you can pop them out and you can use them that way. Or you can spend a day and do some meal prep, chop them yourself, and freeze them in little ice cube trays. Garlic, ginger, right? Can't go wrong with either one of these. Both have significant health property benefits. The thing about garlic is it's important to get the benefit out of it by buying it whole and chopping, mincing, or smashing it yourself. If you buy the jarred, pre-minced stuff, I would like to tell everybody to stop doing that. It's not as tasty. It doesn't taste anywhere near as good. And it doesn't necessarily have all of the benefits anymore, because the benefit comes from that specific enzyme called allicin, and that is, it happens about, let me rephrase that. It's released and about 10 to 15 minutes after you've chopped it or smashed it or minced it. So when you're meal prepping, take out your garlic press, mince your garlic or chop your garlic, and set it aside in a little dish or on your cutting board for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then incorporate it into your dressing or sauteing it or whatever you're going to do with it. It releases all those enzymes versus just cutting it and putting it straight into olive oil to lightly saute it. So get your most bang for your buck by just doing it and letting it sit there for 10 to 15 minutes. It's also really good for your gut-friendly bacteria, right? It's one of those prebiotic foods. So load up on the garlic and make sure it's fresh. Here's a couple of those recipes that I shared with you. You're going to be getting this handout. It's a front and back version, so feel free to share it with your friends and family. That walnut salsa verde is just to die for. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned I put walnuts in there. So it's got walnuts, it's got flax oil, super high in omega-3 fatty acids with those two things. It's got capers, which has quercetin in it. It's got all those fresh herbs. Truly, truly, truly just phenomenal tasting. Okay, bone broth. Bone broth supports that gult tissue that I was speaking of, and it has an N-acetylcysteine, which is a compound found in many bronchitis medications, and it works as an expectorant that helps to break up phlegm and mucus in the chest. And it's also good for a lot of other things too. But since we're talking about immune health, specifically, that's a benefit. And it's, you know, bone broth, not only is it hydrating and it has more vitamins and minerals and collagen and protein than regular stock broth because of the cooking time. So the difference between a bone broth and a regular chicken or a regular stock broth, whether it's a beef broth or a chicken broth that you would buy at the grocery store or make yourself, it's the cooking time that matters. So you take, you know, for example, if I were to have two containers from the grocery store, a chicken broth and then a bone chicken broth, the bone chicken broth is going to have about 9 grams of protein for an 8-ounce serving, whereas the regular chicken broth is going to have about 1 gram of protein per serving. So it's much higher in protein, it's more collagen. And if you were to make it at home, you would take the bones of your carcass. Let's say we're dealing with a chicken or a turkey, and you put them into your stock pot. The key is adding apple cider vinegar or an acid, which helps to release the vitamins and minerals and collagen from the bone. And then instead of cooking it for just you know, an hour or two, which is primarily what is sold at the grocery store as a regular chicken broth, it's cooked very quick. But a bone broth, you would cook for 16 to 24 hours. So the longer cooking time with that acid makes the collagen go up, and you can see it, right? When you're done cooking it and you let it sit, you can see the fat. The fat will go to the top, and you can strain off the fat or the lard at the top. And then the rest of the broth really should be like Jello, you know, gelatinous. So highly encourage you to make your own bone broth and you know, stock up in your freezer. Before we know it, it's going to be fall time, and we want to really prepare ourselves for the next wave of this pandemic and just in overall health in general. So this is a great way to do that. Now, herbs and adaptogens, you know, fresh herbs are a great way to include those antiviral properties. Thyme, oregano are fantastic. And you can see a list here on the screen of different adaptogenic herbs that are good for your immune health and resilience. So holy basil and ashwagandha, astragalus, elderberry, and then some medicinal mushrooms, specifically reishi and chaga in particular, are really great for your immune system. Now, a couple things I want to mention here is there's really not any contraindications per se about taking ashwagandha or astragalus. And you can find those in different beverages and things that you can buy at the grocery store. You could certainly buy them and do things with them yourself, but I want to make a note about elderberry. Elderberry is a great product, or you know, you can make your own, or you can buy elderberry, which I think the majority of people probably do. But the key about elderberry is if you have an autoimmune disorder, whatever autoimmune disorder it could be, you know, I want you to talk to your doctor about it first, because it is contraindicated. If you have an autoimmune disorder, elderberry like upregulates your immune system and will kick that autoimmune disorder into high gear, which is not a good thing. So you want to be careful with that and talk to your doctor. And then, you know, reishi and chaga in particular have a lot of cancer fighting and immune fighting properties. There really isn't a whole lot of contraindications there, but you may be on a certain type of medication that I'm not aware of. So I want you to make sure that you do talk to a healthcare practitioner, or if you're on any immunosuppressant medications, before you would incorporate any of those types of things. So a couple of examples of those things that we would sell at the grocery store that I like to recommend would be the layered performance mushrooms. It contains chaga, cordyceps, lion's mane, and maitake, and it's a powder form. And there's different recipes there that you can see on the screen. You can visit lairdsuperfood.com where they have different recipes of what you can do with the mushrooms. You can add it as a tea into hot water or into your coffee. You can add it to smoothies. I like to mix it with peanut butter or almond butter. It masks the taste of it. I will then take that almond or peanut butter and I'll make a granola energy bite with flax and oats, a little bit of honey or maple syrup, and some hemp seeds maybe, and the almond butter, and mix them together and make my own homemade no-bake energy bites. You can also add them into savory soups, stews, ramen recipes, eggs, dressings, oatmeal, so forth and so on. So you could get creative and figure out fun ways you can add them, but the one I shared is personally my favorite. So adaptogens, ready to drink products that you can buy that have adaptogenic herbs in them, like the ashwagandha or the astragalus or some of those mushrooms, are the Rebel drinks or the Gold Thread tonic beverages. There's quite a few different flavors there. The green mineral one, the Gold Thread down at the bottom, the third one in, that one is personally my favorite. And I also really like the Japanese matcha drink. Very refreshing, and they contain those adaptogenic herbs. And when I say adaptogenic herbs, I mean that they're adaptogenic in that they support the body's natural ability to deal with stress, and they balance it out. They adapt to according to your specific needs of your body, which is very cool and unique. So when I talk about these types of beverages, anything like this is going to contain some kind of sugar. And I think when it comes to your immune health and all around health, every single one of us can work to cutting out added sugar in the diet, not naturally occurring sugar like fructose or fruit, right? That's perfectly fine. Natural sugar is also what we would call lactose, which is the natural sugar found in dairy products. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about added sugar. So there's an ingredient list there on the screen. That's a granola bar. You can see that there are several different types of sugar in that one granola bar. That's a pre-made granola bar that you can buy at the grocery store. The goal is to limit less than 24 grams of added sugar a day. And one of those sugar cubes is 4 grams of sugar. Okay, so 4 grams of sugar in one sugar cube, or one teaspoon, one teaspoon is 4 grams. So it adds up quick. And I put this on here because I like to tell people about how to read a food label, and I could talk for an entire hour and a half about how to read a food label and give you all the tricks of the trade, but that's not the primary goal right now. What I want you to see here is the current label, or the old label on the left, and the new label on the right. As of January of 2020, all new food labels are supposed to look like this. It's mandated that all manufacturers of food products adapt to this new food label. And I specifically just want to talk about the added sugar on this list here. Before, it would just say total sugar. You didn't know if it was, let's say, a yogurt, right? A yogurt has naturally occurring lactose in it. A plain yogurt is going to have about 6 grams of sugar in it. But now comes along a flavor like a strawberry or a blueberry, and now it's got 12 grams of sugar. Well, you have no idea as a consumer how many of those are added, how many of them are natural. Now, thankfully, takes a lot of work out of my explanation as a dietitian, because now it shows you how many grams are added. So that number there that says added sugar, ultimately, we want to keep as close to 0 as possible. It's not the total. So here, if it says 12 grams of total sugar, that means that there's 2 grams of natural and 10 grams of added. That makes sense? So I won't talk any more about that, but I do want to highlight hydration. It is hot, hot, hot out there right now in the middle of the summer. All year round, we need to make sure that we're staying hydrated. And 75% of Americans are walking around dehydrated. And that's bad, bad news. You never want to wait until you're thirsty to drink. So drink, 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 water, water, water all day long. We all have different water needs based on our lifestyles, of course, but water is extremely important. So that is such an easy thing for all of us to focus on, and probably should be number one for most of us. And then sleep, aiming for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night is what we really should be shooting for. I know there's no easy button for that. It's easier said than done. However, diet can play a role. And when you start focusing on drinking more water, you want to drink the water in the first half of, because if you go your whole day and you're like, oh no, I still haven't drank all those bottles of water that I prepped for myself, and then you try to drink them when you get home or in the afternoon or in the evening, what's going to be affected? Your sleep, right? Because you're going to get up and you're going to have to go to the restroom. So you don't want to do that. You want to drink most of your water first half of the day. Deep breathing is also something that we all don't do well. Or I shouldn't say we all don't do well, but most people don't pay attention to how you're breathing. It's really easy, simple practice. If you're not somebody who's learned how to meditate, something that you can do and that you can start with is to just take several times throughout the day to be mindful and aware about how you're breathing, and to take several deep breaths where you're filling your lungs up as far as they can go, almost like a full balloon, and then you exhale out until it's completely deflated. And do that a few times throughout the day, and that naturally lowers cortisol levels, naturally helps the digestive system, and just calms the mind and the body. So that's a really important practice that you can also incorporate that doesn't cost anything. It just makes you have to put into place being mindful and think, Shana told me, the dietitian told me, I need to take several times throughout my day to breathe. And then obviously physical activity is very important. We cannot forget that piece. Sitting is the new smoking. The longer you sit, the more you sit throughout the day. You know, really what we should be doing, I should have asked all of you to stand instead of sitting while watching this presentation. But, you know, focusing on getting out and getting regular movement more than what you're doing is better than nothing. So here is an immune supporting plate. This is what your plate should look like. Half of it should be fruits and vegetables, mostly non-starchy vegetables. And, you know, with the incorporation there, I love that it's got the added fermented foods on there. And most of your beverages really should come from water. The kombucha, green tea is a great option that counts towards your hydration goals. And then, you know, if you're not quite adequate with having a good whole food, plant-based, primarily plant-based, whole food anti-inflammatory diet, then, you know, we probably would need to supplement with some vitamin D and maybe a probiotic, possibly an omega-3 fatty acid, and then some good bone broth in there would be just top it off to a great immune supporting plate. I've also incorporated this handout here. Oh, you know what? I'm not sure if I did send these to Sarah. Sarah, I think I'm going to have to send these to this one and this one here, unless everybody takes a picture of it. I think I forgot to add that to the email of the handouts. But this just summarizes all of the things that I talked about already, kind of puts it into little nice little food source list for you that I think are beneficial as a reminder of those things that we should be having on a regular basis. And I did send all of these recipes, plus another one, to Sarah. So all of you will get these 3 of my favorite immune boosting recipes right here. And then just to review and go over, you know, drinking more water, getting all of those colorful fruits and veggies, mostly non-starchy, thinking nutrient dense, getting those omega-3s, those pre and probiotic foods, getting some sunshine for vitamin D. All of those things are pretty basic, but extremely important, and all things everybody can work on a daily basis. That's old. I have not updated that, so I'm sorry. I'm going to skip past that. I do have some other classes coming up at ShopRite. So if you go to shoprite.com, you can search the ShopRite of Canton and see all of my virtual classes coming up. And I am at this point happy to take some questions. And I will put myself back on the screen here.